Today we'll be covering the project performance report schedule and overview, the permanent supportive housing and other permanent housing, rapid rehousing, and transitional housing PPRs, the quarterly data quality report cards, the quarterly COC dashboard, and will facilitate a discussion on the use of canned agency management reports. And just a reminder to please mute yourself during the meeting. So this is the publishing schedule for the project performance reports, and PPRs are published twice a year for each project type. So this schedule can also be found in the project performance overview document, which we'll discuss on the next slide. The project performance reports include all projects that participate in HMIS and highlight different measures that HUD and COC have determined important in effectively ending homelessness in Orange County clients. So the project performance report overview document that I just discussed provides detailed information on the goals and what goes into each goal and the schedule for publication. So this can be found on our website under the Reports tab or in this link made available in the slides after this meeting. So for this quarter, we're highlighting recently published permanent supportive housing, other permanent housing, rapid rehousing, and transitional housing project types. So we wanted to review the goals and outcomes overview page in case folks aren't familiar with it. So real briefly, this page goes over the goals over time, so we can easily compare current goal scores with previous performance from past reporting periods. So in this top oval, you see this would be the reporting period, and this next oval is the color coding legend that we use for the bars to determine whether they've met or did not meet the threshold. The text in the top of each box is the goal number, a description of the goal, and then the threshold. The dashed line is the threshold line for that the COC has determined for each goal. And then we did want to highlight goal 10 just to remind people that it uses 2 years of data and not just the 1 year of data that is used for the other goals. So we'll start with the PSH OPR. Andrew?
Good morning, everyone. This slide is showing the project performance reports for the permanent supportive housing and other permanent housing projects. This report looks at projects for the reporting period of August 1, 2023 to July 31st, 2024. And out of 11 key thresholds, our COC met 2 goals as indicated by the blue highlighted metrics. Goal 1 is prioritizing clients experiencing literal homelessness. We had 89% of clients entering from homelessness. For goal 6, we saw a slight downward trend this reporting period with 37% of clients increasing their income. And then we saw fairly consistent performance in our other goals. For goal 7, 38% increased income as of project exit. Goal 4, our average placement time for households in units is 36 days. Goal 5, we saw a bed utilization of 105% this reporting period. Goal 9, we had 97% of clients stabilized in permanent housing this reporting period. And then goal 10, we had 8% of clients returning to homelessness for the reporting period. In this slide, it shows the the CES goals for our permanent supportive housing and other permanent housing PPR. So goal 11 through 14 looks at referral data for the coordinated entry system and CES participating projects. We saw fairly consistent performance this reporting period. For goal 11, we had 80% of referrals received from CES. For goal 12, 49% of referrals that were denied by housing providers. For goal 13, we had an average time between matches and enrollments for the reporting period as 101 days. And then for goal 14, we had 35% of referrals being successful matches. And then one of the goals that I wanted to highlight specifically for the permanent supportive housing and other permanent housing PPR was goal 4. This is something that we've met in the past, but we did not meet this reporting period. So goal 4 looks at placing households in units as soon as possible. So it's looking at the difference between the enrollment date and the housing move-in date in HMIS. For our average this reporting period, we had about 36 days for the permanent supportive housing and other permanent housing enrollments. And we saw pretty similar average among different subpopulations, but significantly lower for veterans and households with children. One thing that I wanted to highlight about this goal is that it's pretty subject to outliers. So if we actually look at the data a little more closely, as indicated in the chart in the bottom right, we can see that a majority of enrollments are actually meeting the goal, with 452 enrollments having a placement time of less than 30 days. So this indicates that most enrollments are being enrolled quickly after being placed into housing quickly after being enrolled. It's just that the outliers are kind of driving the average up. And one of the things that I also wanted to highlight about this metric is that for in terms of improving it, it's really important that we make sure that the housing move-in date in HMIS is recorded accurately. So like if we have an inaccurate housing move-in date, that can drive the average up significantly. So make sure as you're inputting those enrollments in HMIS that you just make sure that the housing move-in date corresponds with the actual date that they move in, and the enrollment date is also accurate as in accordance with the HUD data standards. And then the next goal I want to highlight was PPR goal 5. So this is looking at bed utilization for our permanent supportive housing and other permanent housing projects. This is a goal that we've been performing pretty consistently in, but this reporting period, we actually saw a 105% average utilization rate. So technically we are meeting the goal, but I did want to take the time to highlight some potential data inaccuracies that's occurring with bed inventory recorded in HMIS. We try to maintain a pretty up-to-date record of bed inventory, but sometimes changes in bed inventory can occur without us knowing. And if that's not recorded in HMIS, it can skew the utilization rate to the right. So it'd be reporting higher utilization rate than the actual rate. So I do want to encourage agencies to take a look at their bed inventory numbers, especially as we're conducting our HICPIT review, so that we can ensure accurate reporting. And then I also want to acknowledge that there are some scenarios where you can see legitimate over 100% bed utilization. So, for example, projects with cribs will have skewed bed inventory, as well as tenant-based projects that might not have a strict bed number might have a skewed bed inventory. But seeing as we had we had 24 projects recording over 105% bed utilization, that does suggest that there may be some inaccuracies with the bed inventory. So we've been reaching out to AAs about the bed inventory, and we'll continue to do so to ensure that we have accurate reporting. Those are all the goals I wanted to highlight for the permanent housing PPR. But if you do have any questions about the goals that I mentioned or any other goal for the permanent housing PPR, please feel free to leave it in the chat.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, we'll pause for questions right now. If anybody has a question, you can enter your question in the chat or feel free to mute yourself. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, so we'll continue on. So the next project type we're reviewing is rapid rehousing. This is our most recent report for the reporting period of September 2023 through August 2024. And our COC met 4 of the 10 goals. Those were Goal 6, which is helping adults increase their income while enrolled in the project. That threshold is at least 40%, and you can see we made a 5% jump from last reporting period. Going over to Goal 10, which is ensuring clients do not fall back into homelessness after being housed, and that is 7% or less, and we're holding steady at 6%. Another one that we've met is Goal 12, which is limiting the referrals from coordinated entry system that are denied by housing providers. And that is 40% or less, and we've dropped another 4% from last reporting period to 36%. And then finally, Goal 13, which has shown a downward trend toward this goal, was met for the first time in the last year and a half. And we're sitting at 14 days. So for this project type, we wanted to highlight Goal 13, which measures the accepted matches from coordinated entry. So specifically the period between when the client was matched to an opportunity, determined eligible, and then enrolled in the program. And here you can see the breakdown in subpopulations, and you can see where we've met this goal, and in the graphic here, where the majority of the clients fall. And the next goal I'd like to highlight is Goal 11. Which is receiving referrals from the coordinated entry system to ensure that the highest priority clients are receiving the housing resources that they need to end their homelessness. And this goal compares the number of new enrollments in the housing project during the reporting period to the number of completed referrals the housing project had during the reporting period. So completed referrals means that a household was matched to a housing opportunity through the coordinated entry system, and that match resulted in an enrollment in a housing project at that agency. So you can see that the threshold is 100%, and we're sitting at 26%. Challenges to this is when an enrollment was made but was not connected to the referral and therefore not recorded as being received from the coordinated entry system. We're going to be holding office hours later this month on the 26th to address questions on reports like this and how to meet these goals in order to improve your own agency scores. And we'll provide more information a little bit later on about this, the upcoming office hours. So we'll pause for questions. So Carmen asked a question: should the move-in date be the date the client enrolled into the project or when they are accepted into the unit? And thank you for your question, Karma. The data standards report that the housing move-in date must be recorded at the point the household moves into a permanent living situation. I'll just pause for any more questions. Okay, we'll continue on. Our next PPR is transitional housing. Linda?
So for the transitional housing PPR, our COC met 3 out of 7 thresholds for the transitional housing projects. These goals are measuring the project performance for all transitional housing projects in HMIS during the reporting period of October 2023 to the end of September 2024. So based on these charts, the projects have been consistent on meeting some of the same goals as it has been for the last reporting period. So we have goal 6. This is on helping adults increase their income while enrolled in the project. We can see a slight percent increase of 4% from the last reporting period of 29 to 33. Also for goal 5, to help ensure that projects are being fully utilized. Last reporting period, we were just a couple of percentages off, but this reporting period, we were able to meet the threshold of 80% or higher. And then also goal 10, this is to ensure that clients do not fall back into homelessness after being housed. This is also meeting the threshold of 10% or less with a score for 3% of all projects. And then so for one of the goals that I wanted to highlight was goal 1. This is to prioritize clients experiencing literal homelessness. So last reporting period, we scored an average of 83%. However, this reporting period is dropped down to 77. So based on this chart right here, you can see that there are a good amount of missing responses, 44% to be exact. So we believe that this might be an issue due to data entry. So it is very important to collect the client's prior living situation in order to determine the client's entry category. And in return, this will help improve the score for goal 1. And another goal that I wanted to highlight is goal 10, which ensures that clients do not fall back into homelessness after being housed from the project. For this reporting period, only 3% of clients who exited from transitional housing projects returned to the system, which still meets the threshold of 10% or less. So I just wanted to highlight this because our COC has been consistently achieving this goal, just to show the effectiveness of our projects to support clients into long-term housing.
Linda. Heather, could we go back to the PPR overview for transitional housing? Right there. Thank you, Heather. And we wanted to open up to our community to discuss about adjusting some of our threshold measures. Our COC has been consistently meeting the goal 6, help adults increase their income while enrolled in a project. Our current threshold is 15%, and we have been consistently meeting this threshold, as well as goal 10, ensuring clients don't fall back into homelessness after being housed. Our current threshold is 10%. I'm going to be adding a link into the chat. Please take some time to review and please provide your feedback. The reason we also want to adjust goal 10 measure is so that it would be also matches our other PPR, which is currently at 7%. And please feel free to add questions in the chat or unmute yourself if you would like to share some feedback. There's also a feedback text box in the survey as well.
Okay, I'm not seeing any comments, so we'll continue on. Next is the quarterly data quality report cards. Linda?
So the quarterly data quality report cards measures data completeness and data accuracy, and also data timeliness. These are HMIS universal data elements are required to be collected by all projects. So data completeness and accuracy, this refers to the degree that which all required data is known and documented in HMIS. Data completeness looks if there is a valid response to all the data elements required for the client. And it also refers to the degree to which data is entered in HMIS, that it reflects the real information of the client served and the services provided. As for data timeliness, this refers to the degree to which the data is collected and available when it's needed. It looks at how much time passes from the moment the data is collected from the client until the data is entered in HMIS. So this tab of the report shows the percentages of valid responses and data error type for each universal data elements for all projects. It seems like overall we are doing pretty well as we average a score of 97% on all data responses, with the exception of some data elements such as social security number, data quality, and also last exit destination. So this tab right here shows the data timeliness. It shows the average number of days taken to enter project start, project exit, services provided into HMIS for each project. So according to HUD standards, the time frame to enter in client data is 3 days from when the data is collected. So we are doing a fairly good job when entering client enrollment data within that threshold. For project entry. As for services, we are averaging at 59% and project exit at 67. We are still seeing some small percentages of data that's being entered outside of the 3-day threshold, ranging from 4 days and to even over 30 days. So it is important to meet that threshold of adding in data within 3 days of when it has been collected to improve your data timeliness score.
And before we get to the next section on the quarterly COC dashboard, I want to pause for questions. And I see there is another question in the chat. And the question is last exit destination the same as the data element destination on the exit screen? And yes, that is correct. I'm just going to continue to pause for questions. Please feel free to unmute yourself or enter your question into the chat. Okay, I'm not seeing any additional questions, so we'll move on to the quarterly COC dashboard. Elizabeth?
Yeah, Heather. Good morning, everyone. This is our quarterly COC dashboard. There's 3 pages to this report. The first page is a snapshot of all clients that were active or enrolled in HMS during that reporting period. It's going to also list demographic data of those participants as well as disabling condition if they're part of a special population, entry situation, and as well as if there's performance outcome and exit destination. Next slide, please, Heather. And the second and third page of the COC dashboard is going to pull data from our contact center. So this first page is going to include all incoming and outgoing calls from our 211 OC contact center. It's also going to list the referral needs and also demographic data of the callers. So at the bottom of the report, it's going to list the categories of the needs that come in. We see the top 5 needs for this quarter is housing, food and meals, individual, family, and community support, utility assistant, mental health, and substance use disorder needs. Next slide, please, Heather. And the last page is our virtual front door data. It's going to include callers that call in with a housing need. They're pre-screened to determine their housing situation. Those who are currently unhoused or offer support with getting connected to an access point. And for callers who need to be re-referred, re-linked, they're also offered that support and offered a warm handoff to the access point.
We're going to pause for questions. This report is also available on our website under the Reports tab as well, if you would like to review. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. And thank you for Elizabeth for the link in the chat to the dashboard. And our last topic is we'd like to facilitate a discussion on canned agency management reports. Elizabeth will go through those. Elizabeth?
Thank you, Heather. Just wanted to discuss the CAN agency management report. There has been some requests about giving additional user access. So we kind of wanted to list all the reports that are currently available in Clarity and users' roles that currently access these reports. So our first report is the user activity report. This report will provide information regarding login times, dates, and duration. So currently, you'll see we'll have a table, the name of the report, the description, and the access role is the current users that have access to this report. So this first report is the only agency admins currently have access to. The second report is user active caseload. This report provides a detail of the current caseload for a user and the activity. So both agency admins and agency staff has access to this report. And then the third report is staff client activity report. This report assists in providing program management, the opportunity to review with a record that the user is attached to and the different activity that they complete in Clarity. Currently, only agency admin has access to this, and user client note hour tracks. Both agency admin and agency staff has access to this. So this is totaling the time that case notes tracking is entered into Clarity. Heather, can we just pause on this slide just so everyone can get familiar before we go into the examples? Okay, thank you, Heather. Can we go to the next slide? And just wanted to note, all the reports that we'll be sharing is pulled from our training slate. So this is all practice data. So when you open up the user activity report, you'll see the following screen to the right. You can select to review all users under your agency or select an individual staff. And you can adjust the reporting range as well as the option to review it on the web or an export PDF or Excel. So you'll notice on the right-hand side, this is an example of the report. It's going to include the user's login time and logout time and the time that they spent in Clarity. I believe I see a hand, so I'll go ahead. Carmen, feel free to unmute yourself.
I'll wait until you get to the third report before I ask my question, just to see what you say about it. The one about the auditing of a user data being edited. Let me just wait before I ask the question.
Okay, thank you for your feedback. Just want to pause really quick in case there's any questions about this report. And we wanted to note again, this report is only currently accessible by agency admins. Heather, we can go ahead and move forward to the next report. This is the user active caseload report. This is accessible by both agency admin and users. It's going to list all active participant that the case manager is currently working on. So if the case manager is the assigned staff in the enrollment screen, that client will be linked to their caseload. So if they work under two different programs, in the example to the right, you can see two different program name because they are serving clients in two programs. Here, can we move on to the next slide? The staff client data activity report. It's currently only accessible by agency admin. Again, you have the option to review all users under your agency, all case managers, or specifically run it for one user, just adjusting the filters as needed. And it's going to list the different activities. So data type, you'll see that there's, in our example, there's program exit, program enrollment, profile created, client URI, service update. It's going to list the different type of activity, the client name, the unique identifier, and the date when those activity occurred.
This is the one that I had a question on. So I see this is an audit trail. What if I wanted to, and it's by staff member, what if I need to see an audit trail by a client for, so let's say, for example, I have 4 case managers and maybe, well, we'll call them data specialists or somebody doing navigation, somebody's doing the data entry, and they may not necessarily just do the data entry for one client. How do I see an audit trail per client versus per user?
So we would recommend exporting the report into an Excel spreadsheet so then you can then filter to that specific client.
Okay, got it. So I would just do for all and just see, okay, I understood. Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I really
Also,
appreciate your question.
I was just going to add, also if you wanted to see specific changes, like if you think a field used to say this and now it says this, you would have to submit a ticket with us because we can see that specific history as well. That would usually be on a case by case basis, though.
Right. Yeah. I guess that was the one, that real specific one. Yeah. Okay. So that one has to come be a ticket from you guys. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
For your question. And also wanted to know on the left-hand side, the filter, you can adjust to all users or just one user and data type. In my example, I did select all, but if you're only interested in looking at assessment or program exit, you can adjust to just filter it to that type of data as well. Heather, could we go ahead and move on to the next slide, please? Thank you. No records track. This report is currently accessible by both the agency admin and agency staff. On the left-hand side, you'll see the screen that you can filter the data as needed. You can view all data or select by project type and then select the specific projects. For my example, I did narrow it down to one user, and this is the log that the hours that were added into case notes, and it's totaling 8 hours and 30 minutes.
So is this 8 hours, that's how much time they spent adding case notes, or is that how many hours they spent with a client in terms of case management?
And then Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, it is the time they included in the case note. So if they're including that they met with a client an hour each meeting, so over I ran this report for a month, it's going to add up the case note time entered.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And the reason we wanted to bring this up for discussion was because there were some requests to review the possibility of opening up this report to additional users. So we're going to add a survey if everyone can take their time to review and provide your feedback.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate your feedback in the surveys that we've sent out. We'll go ahead. Yeah.
And Heather, before we move forward, could we go back to the transitional housing goals and outcomes slide 13?
Yeah. And we're going to just go up like this.
Just wanted to open back up to the group for discussion. We do want to ask everyone in that's participating to please provide your feedback about their transitional PPR threshold adjustment. We are looking to adjust goal 6 to 20% and adjusting goal 10 to 7%. So please feel free to share your feedback. Again, these goals our COC has been meeting the goal consistently. So we wanted to adjust the goal to ensure that we continue, our COC continue to look at our performance and make improvement to our overall services.
So I have a question, Elizabeth. So do you want a couple of things. Do you want feedback from agencies who don't have transitional housing programs, and also commentary? I don't feel like I'm the right person to weigh in on this question, even if we did have transitional housing programs. So are you looking for an immediate answer? Is this something that you can kind of like hold off and get some additional feedback on, just in case the people who need to be weighing in are not on this call?
Thank you, Carmen, for your question. Yes, we would like to hear from our partners that do operate transitional housing, and we can definitely include the survey in the recap so that you can forward it to appropriate staff as needed if they would like to review and provide their feedback as well.
Okay.
Okay, if we don't have any more questions, we'll go ahead and move forward. I'll advance through the slides. And we're going to move into our Q&A time for general questions. If you have specific questions about your projects or specific clients, please submit a ticket to the HMIS help desk and we'll be happy to help. So feel free to unmute yourself or enter your question into the chat. And also as a friendly reminder to please enter your agency name and your name into the chat box for attendance. So there is a question in the chat. Is overutilization a concern, especially when housing authorities approve all move-ins? Elizabeth, can you provide some guidance, please?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
I can help with that one. Um, so the concern is more that we want the data to be accurate. So there can be overutilization, and that is acceptable. But if it's consistent, then we want to work on maybe adjusting bed inventory to reflect what's actually happening. That's another thing on like a case by case basis. We can talk with you about that. If it's something that's consistently happening that you're overutilized, we can look at maybe adjusting your inventory.
Well, thank you for your question, and thank you, Erin, for that guidance. And if there are any other questions, feel free to unmute yourself. Okay, and we did want to take this time to let everyone know that we are conducting office hours specifically on reports on February 26th at 11 o'clock. And we will be submitting, providing additional information in a future communication. And we'd like to thank you for joining us today. If you have specific questions about your projects, please submit a ticket to the help desk and we'll be happy to assist you. Our next quarterly data performance management meeting is May 14th. And thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day today.